I'm not able to see the camera here.
Ma'am, just press your screen once.
Okay.
You will find out 3-4 dots on the bottom side.
Here, I don't know. Here has come sky. Yes.
Here, and we can see you very well. Otherwise,
you can see.
Yes, ma'am. You are visible, and we can hear you quite well.
You join a meeting with one click. That's what I get.
Yeah, you have joined already. You have joined.
Okay. Now we can start a conversation, new chat.
Can you see us, ma'am?
Good afternoon, sir.
No, I can't see. Here, oh, it's gone onto the Skype. Sorry.
Wait.
Okay, just a minute, please. I go back to Zoom now.
Ma'am, try to close your software and please restart.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Have we started? It says no upcoming meeting today.
You are already in the meeting, ma'am.
So how do I move from here? You say that I have to start my camera.
Just touch your screen once. You will find 3 dots on the bottom. स्क्रीन को टच करेंगे 3 डॉट आएंगे नीचे बॉटम पे. सेकंड डॉट पे फिंगर कीजिएगा.
कुछ दिखाई नहीं दे रहा यहाँ पर 3 डॉट्स. तो
स्क्रीन में क्या दिख रहा है मैम?
स्क्रीन पर तो होम, चैट, मीटिंग्स, कॉन्टेक्ट्स टॉप पर दिखाई दे रहा है.
मैम नीचे दिख रहा है आपको मोर का ऑप्शन होगा. मोर का
किसका? मीट नाउ
राइट साइड बॉटम पे मोर. एक बार स्क्रीन क्लिक करके आता हो. स्क्रीन क्लिक करेंगे राइट साइड बॉटम पे मोर आएगा.
ओके. No, it's not coming.
So, Bhuma.
Yes, sir.
Professor Tony is not adding to?
No, sir. Just added.
He added?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see those 3 dots which you are mentioning.
So now we can start?
I think we can start, but I can't see.
Okay.
But we can all see you, ma'am, very clearly.
Yeah.
And we can also hear your voice.
Okay. So all right. I think I don't want to reshuffle the things. Otherwise it will take quite some time.
Something else will be lost then.
Yes. See, there is one meet now. Shall I try this button? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Meet now.
I hope we can begin, ma'am. You can take up the chair and then we can begin with.
Okay, just a minute. Creating your shiny new conversation. I don't know what has come up. Just a minute, please. Give me 2 minutes more.
Because, ma'am.
Yes, then by time Professor Tony will join. We can't see him.
Okay. Yes, I think we can go ahead. In the meanwhile, I'll try. How do I? Oh no.
Madam, 3 of us have joined. Myself, Professor Dr. Negi, and Professor Tiawara have joined, and plus Bhumar is there. Plus Professor Tony is supposed to join.
Okay. So we can start.
So
I
we
hope,
can start.
let me ask Dr. Bhamar, what
Yes.
is the status for Tony to join?
Yes, yes. Right now, sir, join. Tony is joined.
You
No,
can't
no,
see him.
no, sir. Tony is not joined. Tyra is joined.
Tyra, yes.
Yes,
Professor
yes,
Tyra has joined.
yes,
Yeah, we
yes.
can see him on the screen.
Yeah, yes. Right, sir. Tony is yet not joined. So now we can start, sir?
Okay.
By the time he will join, we can start.
Yes. Sir, today, yes, Tony is joined. Yes, Tony is coming. Okay. Sir, Tony is joined.
Yes, now we can see him.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good afternoon, Professor Tony.
Professor Tony.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Sorry, I've had
And
trouble
good afternoon.
getting into the meeting.
Yes, yes. So,
The house is full.
shall we start, sir?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, okay, sir. Sir, good afternoon, everyone. Respected Professor Please Nagia ma'am, Professor Kushal Kumar Sharma, sir, Dr. V.S. Negi, sir, and Tyra and Tony, Professor Tony. So today we are organizing a panel discussions on the under the Commission of Local and Regional Developments. Theme we are focusing on the role of global to local and vocal to local initiative for regional developments. So I hope now we can start for the sessions. Professor Kushal Kumar Sharma, sir, please you can start, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Professor Kushal Kumar Sharma. I'm teaching Rural Development Agriculture Transformation at Center for Study for Regional Development CSRD in JNU. I'm really very happy and really thankful to Dr. Bhamar to bring me to this panel discussion on a very auspicious and a very important topic that's related to global to local sustainability and future of this earth. I hope we can all understand the importance of this issue, which is a national and international concern, as well as local communities are also striving for the same. And this commission talks about the local and regional development. I hope it is one topic which has been discussed right away from a initial stages when the earth started looking at, or the people started looking at development for a large scale development. I'm also reminded of one thing to begin with the kind of local initiative. If you remember when John Perkins Marsh was the advisor to Theodore Roosevelt in 1930s, at that time the Tennessee Valley was really under a great stress because of erosion and other local resources were eroded. And that is how the integrated river basin approach came into existence, because of the contribution of a great geographer, John Perkins Marsh. And I hope he advises the president to work on integrated river basin. And in India also, we adopted the same approach for the Damodar Valley River Development Corporation. Now, this is the one way where we can see we brought these approaches more scientific and locally. And the global body was also looking into that how we need to work on. I will not devote more time on, but I will pass on. Keeping this perspective in mind, I really welcome our national international contributor to this panel discussion and our chairperson of this session, Sudesh Nagyaji. She has been a very renowned scientist in CSRD in JNU and known world over for her contribution to the academics. I'm also thankful to Dr. Negi, who has been associated with me for a very long time. He works on various local communities as well at the same time, looking at global issues on environment, and he has conducted many national and international conferences on the same. I really do not have a lot of information for Professor Tony, who comes from Australia. He might have been contributing academically and at both national and international level. We will be very happy to listen to you, your contribution too, and how we can learn from you more about understanding this issue, which is globally and locally having a concern for. And at the same time, I also welcome Professor Tiara. He's from Japan. I don't know him personally, but yes, he might have been contributing, and the IGU has looked into that he should contribute to this conference and the panel discussion. So this is what the very small group of people, those who have been picked up by the Commission of Local and Regional Development. I also thankful to the Secretary General R.B. Singh and the team for Dr. Bhamar, who has taken all that pain to coordinate all of us. And through this, particularly, I came to know about Tiara and Professor Tony. I hope in India, at this present time in the North India, it's very cold and the temperature has gone down to 3.0. And I don't know about the Australia. When I see Professor Tiara is in a t-shirt, I hope it is a little warmer that side. And when I look at Professor Tiara, then
summer here, yes, very
probably
warm.
seems to be that yes, it is a little colder that side. So therefore, the conditions have become very different, and these are the variations that world carries with it. And that is what we try to understand. These are the kind of initiatives and the probability for us to learn from that how regionally we are so different, but having the same approach in mind to understand local issues and how the global scenario can be improved by cumulative effect of local communities for the betterment of this earth. That is the central idea of this, probably, which Dr. Bhavar will agree with me. The Commission talks on the same thing. So taking this debate and a discussion ahead, I would ask Sudesh Nagya to take the chair and initiate the discussion on this very auspicious topic. Over to Sudesh Nagya, madam.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for introducing all our learned speakers. And thank you for the introduction you have given about the theme of the conference, and also especially the theme of this. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for introducing before the community the theme of this particular commission. See, when I looked at the title of this particular theme, it says the role of global to local and vocal to local initiative for regional development. And the conference theme is global to local sustainability and future Earth. You know, this very theme is some kind of a multiplex theme, more like in line with the thinking of geographers, because we think of all the subjects all the time. Now, when I look at the various concepts which have been used here, I just talk more about theoretical things, and then I'm sure my other colleagues can take further initiative. See, the concepts are global, local, vocal, initiative, region, development, sustainability, future Earth. Now they are, to me, they seem to be quite versatile, but at the same time quite complicated concepts on which one has to discuss in this in the commission today. Global means is related to Earth or a part of it. Local could be an individual or a hamlet or village going right up to the city or beyond. Vocal, does it mean self-expression or expression through media or communication? Then initiative is really to take action. Individual actions, then community actions, actions of various political parties, actions of the nations, action of the United Nations, and the other global bodies. Region, as we know, as geographers, we consider an area uniform in certain criteria. And development, regional development, refers to the progress of that area in terms of certain criteria. Now, sustainability is another term which has been added into it. That is to support or bear the weight of that development. Does it mean that? And future Earth, Mother Earth, or future of the Mother Earth as we would like to see, or as it will come by its natural forces of interaction, action, activities. Now, I feel that all these terms or concepts, which what we have added in this particular program, they are relative to space and time. Hence, they have to be interpreted accordingly. We all know that what is local at one level may be regional at another, and what is regional at one level may be termed global at another level. The scale of region itself changes its boundaries, it changes its boundaries with criterion or any criteria which we take to limit it. Development again is a notional term. Yesterday's development today is often associated with backwardness. It may or it may not be, but then this is one of the factors which we take into account. Future development, if associated with technology, then sky's the limit. Then here comes the issue of sustainability. Can we really bear the weight of that development which we are hankering after, not forgetting the backlash of such programs? For instance, we have very good example in today's world, in present Indian context, the Kisan Act, which has been taken up for discussion. Then another term that we come across here is future Earth. What is the time frame for this future Earth? Are we limiting ourselves to 2030? Because we are talking of sustainable development goals, as we heard in the morning in our inaugural session by quite a few of our experts who discussed about them. Are we thinking of our lifetime, which may extend up to 50 to 100 years of we individuals? See, 100 is the upper limit. Or we are thinking much beyond that, till the planetary system survives? Or what is it? So any kind of debate or discussion can be focused on keeping in mind the principles of space and time in the process, in the pursuit of these concepts. The second term that we have is the initiative. Now, in the initiatives, we have a few terms. One is global to local. As we heard in the morning also, that Indian philosophy has always perpetuated the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is, we are thinking that world is a family. Hence, any type of activity that is to be taken up should keep in mind the welfare of the entire world community. To think of the world community, one thinks of the welfare of the individual at the local level. The Indian philosophy again quotes at local level, believes in Brahma Asmi. It means I am the universe. In me lies the universe. And if you wish to unfathom the secrets of this universe, the creator of this universe, then visit inside. So you see, right from the internal processes of our brain, our human mind, our life, we go right up to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is global level initiatives. In modern parlance, we take virtual platforms. This is one of the global initiative that has been created. E-technology, Wi-Fi, internet, reach out to the man in the remotest area, has brought out a wonderful connection between the global and the local. Now, the second initiative which is given to us is from local to global. We always say, and there are poets and philosophers who have quoted, let the windows of my house be open to the outside world. Let the air and sunshine enter my house so that I do not fossilate. Let the indigenous technology be the pride of my community, its quality worthy of demand and export. So from the local, we tend to move out, imbibe ideas, imbibe technology from outside, at the same time, try to upgrade ourselves. In other words, local talent and potentials are to be explored and to be used as a means to boost the economy, whether it belongs to tourism, whether it belongs to religion, medicine, education, archaeology, or whether it belongs to any of our heritage sites. Now, whether we have the shikaras of Dal Lake, Ram temples of Ayodhya, ghats of Banaras, Aarti at the Banaras Ghats, whether we have Aarti at the Rishikesh, or we have Khajuraho dance festival, and there are tribal arts all over the country in all the all the tribal belts. So they all refer to the local expertise which has been created in those areas, and how to reach out to the outside world is the um, is the real art of handling the regional initiatives. Now we have another initiative that is vocal to local. Vocal would mean basically communication. Now the question is how to be vocal for the local resources, for the local problems, issues, for the local talents, arts, aesthetics, and what other kinds of issues can be taken up, even population issues. So I'll just focus on some of the population issues. For instance, since independence, we have been vocal on women's equality, women's equity, women empowerment. And for that, we had been working for sensitization of the population towards these issues. We are sensitized towards the elderly population, towards the disadvantaged groups. We have been working on them since independence, and today we have been able to achieve considerable success on all these issues. However, the communication has to be, as one of my media friends calls it, strategic communication. Sincere efforts should be made to project the values of any particular programs which we take for the development of the region, for the development of its people. Otherwise, it can boomerang. It can create social problems, it can create economic problems, and it can also create political problems if they are negatively projected. For instance, we have the example of CAA before us. We have the example of NPR before us. We have the example of Kisan Bill before us. Negatively projected, such communications have created, political unrest. If positively projected, the same programs can take us can take the nation upward. They can develop the regions, they can develop the population, and they can also develop the resources and the economy of the region. See, we have been talking of sustainable development goals. We heard them in the morning. 17 sustainable development goals are an interesting combination of local and global. Let's see how. The first goals, 5 goals, which mention about ending of poverty. We go to the grassroots level and every individual is above the poverty level. Second goal is end hunger. Again, it reflects the individual's initiative for an individual. Ensure healthy life. Everyone should be healthy. Ensure equitable quality education. So everyone should be qualified. And gender equality. Both men and women should be treated at par. So all these 5 goals, if you look at them, they pertain to the local level initiatives. Then we have the regional level initiatives. Say, global goal 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe the numbers might change a little, but then they relate to water, sanitation, sustainable and modern energy, availability of it, economic growth of the region, infrastructure and industrial promotion, safe and sustainable cities. They all relate to the development of these settlements with all these facilities inbuilt into the program. Next, we have the global initiatives. Climate change, for instance, marine resources, terrestrial resources, abolition of inequality among nations, global partnership, that is global peace and harmony. They are all global level initiatives. All these goals establish the relationship between the local, regional, and global initiatives for a prosperous and sustainable Earth. Now, these initiatives have a time frame up to 2030. But for the future sustainability, is that time frame enough? That is definitely not enough. But suppose we reach that goal, then our perspective for the future tends to go further. This is what one has to think of. I think I stop here. I've given a few, whatever I felt I could speak about, I have given that, and I'm sure uh, many more new ideas will be coming from my colleagues. Thank you. Hello.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am, for providing the discussion to go into a particular direction. Now I invite Professor Soren Sen, and I'm very happy, Professor Soren Sen, your surname seems to be more Indian than Australian.
Thank you for the introduction. I've followed the discussion so far with considerable interest, but I must note that Australia's economy and society seem to operate quite differently from many other countries. For example, our country has over many years ditched manufacturing as an employer of people. For example, nearly 50 years ago, 30% of the Australian workforce was in manufacturing. Now that number is 5%. On the other hand, the big growth sectors in Australia have been mining and agriculture, and interestingly, and this has been a big gainer until the virus struck us earlier this year, one of the real growth sectors was actually university education, servicing people from overseas, many overseas countries. And the fourth growth arena, unlike many other countries, is actually leisure and recreation and tourism. And one of the fastest growing sectors we have now is, in fact, that industry. But I have to say one or two other things that are a little bit stranger about our economy and society. We are a very heavily market-oriented economy. That is, most of the development in Australia comes about through a private sector investment. The other thing is that we have virtually no policies at all to preserve existing industries. So if existing industries are upended by technology, well, we invest in high technology industries that provide us with a more modern economy, higher incomes, and so on. So the role of government in this country in dealing with, say, the issue of regional development and especially rural development is extremely limited. Governments are there to provide infrastructure, the roads, railways, dams for storing water, electricity, and that sort of thing. Although I might note that we are now moving heavily towards the use of green energy, and a lot of that energy is being supplied by private companies, not by government. Government is responsible for the electricity cables which link different regions, but increasingly not much more than that. So we've got a situation here where governments really do not play a large part in promoting rural development or the development of different states or territories. A lot depends on the private sector. And this brings in another theme that I really haven't heard mentioned very much here, but which I deal with at very great lengths in this book, Dilemmas of Regional and Local Development, which was edited by Jerzy Bansky. I don't know if anyone has met him, but he's chair of the IGU Commission in Local and Regional Development. And in this book, the first chapter is mine, and in it, I document the immense technological revolution that is only just really beginning to start up, but which will become intense over time, whereby lots of independent technologies or technologies in synthesis with one another will dramatically change every single dimension of economy, society, governance, trade, and so forth. And there's an extensive literature on how on earth are we going to handle a future about which we know very little. The future that is going to occur will be the result of sudden activities on the behalf of very often the private sector, introducing new technologies and as a result, dramatically changing the dynamics of economy and society at the local level. And I've spent a lot of time actually researching the what's called the Agile Corporation. I don't know if any of you have read this literature, but it deals with the likes of companies like Alphabet or Google as it's known otherwise, Amazon, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. There's a large number of these massive corporations which are expanding rapidly. And it's very interesting to have a look at the dynamics of those companies and the way in which they operate, because the agile company, according to business literature, is heavily focused on the development of new ideas and the implementation of those ideas. And guess what? The old industrial model was a hierarchical one where decisions were made at a high level and then passed down through the levels of companies to the basement and so on, with all the decisions, top decisions being made at the top. Well, in the agile economy, the dynamics are very different. Agile corporations actually develop their ideas at the bottom of the corporation, and those ideas filter up through the corporation. And I see one of the greatest issues of local development in a more geographical sense as being how do we prime local communities to be agile in the sense that they pick up the opportunities provided by new technologies as soon as possible and implement those technologies to their greatest advantage. And if you look at regional development from that perspective, governments actually have very little to say. Governments are not really, in many countries, all about the development of new enterprises. New enterprises, I suspect, in our technological age, which has incidentally been called the fourth industrial revolution by some writers, it strikes me that the dynamics for the reform and the investment in local communities is going to have to come from local people. So the agile community, increasingly, I suspect, will comprise leading business people, universities. My own university, incidentally, has a startup enterprise division to it, which is trying to, in fact, bring in people with new business ideas and help them establish their businesses and grow them. And that's the advantage, of course, of having a university in a small community. My town, by the way, only has 25,000 people. It's very small. The nearest big city to Armidale, where I'm located, is 500 kilometers away, if you can think about that for a moment. And in fact, Australia has only 25 million people. Some global cities are bigger than that. I know that the Tokyo metropolitan area has a population, I believe, of something like 34 million. So we are a small community, but I and a large number of colleagues are trying to drive forward our community and its development by contacting people with ideas and helping people develop ideas and providing capital for them, venture capital, which will establish those enterprises and drive them at the local level. Without this kind of agility, as I've just described it, many small rural communities in Australia, right across this country, are in trouble. They are losing population, they are losing services, and some are just literally dying on the spot. They cease to exist as communities. And I think that this, for our nation, is a lamentable reality. In other words, we don't like to lose communities, but in fact, some of them have no capacity to embrace the new technological era into which we're entering, and are falling, as we say, by the wayside. So for me and my colleagues, a crucial issue is how do we create place agility that is able to connect with all of those technological changes happening internally within our country, but globally as well, and responding quickly to those opportunities. Just one other thing, I mentioned that our economy is very heavily market oriented, but it's worse than that in many respects for people involved in local development, because we have signed free trade agreements with around about 30 different countries. And those countries include China, the United States. We're negotiating with Britain now and the European Union. We have free trade with Vietnam, with Malaysia, with Thailand, Indonesia, and so on, and with countries even in South America. So what goes on here is really depending on a competitive international market. And as a nation, we are focusing on those kinds of activities that where we've got comparative advantage and competitive advantage. And as I said, those are heavily agriculture, mining, education, and leisure and recreation and tourism. And it's through all of these things that we are creating a modern country. But nationally, we are adapting to these changes quite well. And we are seeing, even in the conditions of the virus, which we've now got, that Australia's GDP in the last quarter rose 3.3%, whereas GDP in many other countries is actually declining. We are, even in the virus era, running quite a large trade balance with other nations as well. So I think we're doing what we're doing very well, but what is happening is that local communities don't have very much control over their destinies unless they are able to negotiate with the technologies into a high technology future. So this scenario I've just painted for you is probably very different from the experiences in other countries. I'll leave it there for the moment, but I'm prepared to take questions on what I've just said.
Thank you.
Hello, Professor Tony. So okay now. So can we go on to the next speaker?
Sorry, I can't hear.
Professor Tony, can we go to another speaker?
Can I go? Can you not hear me?
You can go. Okay.
Yes.
So on the other side, now we have Professor Tiara with us from Japan.
Yes.
And welcome again to this presentation on panel discussion. Your nation is very small but very highly developed. And your nation has taken up all the issues of developing the community at a national or international level. I hope so much of contributions have been made by Japanese. Let's try to see that how you have been able to manage your issues of local, then to national, and then to international level. Over to Professor Tiara.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this very critical conference. Well, first, let me introduce myself. My name is Atsushi Taira, so call me Atsushi, and I'm teaching geography at the Kagawa University, which is one of national universities in Japan. There are about 100 national universities, but and actually there are 600, 700 four-year colleges in Japan, and so most of them are private-owned universities. Okay, and my college, Kagawa University, is located on the island of Shikoku, which is the smallest island among major 4 islands. As you know, the largest one is Honshu, where Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya are located, and the northern island called Hokkaido, and the southern island called Kyushu. And actually, Shikoku Island is sandwiched by Honshu and the Kyushu Island, the smallest one. So the Shikoku is a kind of model region for aging of Japanese society. As you know, as you said, Japan succeeded in developing a range of industries, beginning from light industries to heavy industries to IT and biotech industries. But except, I think, automobile industries, many leading Japanese companies are losing their world dominant positions due to severe competition with other developing countries, firms like LG and Samsung in South Korea, and recent developing Chinese large firms like Alibaba and Tencent. So Japanese companies are really struggling to cope with increasing competition in the world market. But it is a fact that we have achieved rapid industrial development, especially in 1960s and 1970s. But after that, we have experienced rather a long recession, especially after the burst of bubble economy at the end of the 1980s and at the beginning of the 1990s. And after that, we saw a very long recession called lost decades. Actually, not only one decade, but also 2 decades from early 1990s to the recent days. But even in those struggling periods, some companies succeeded in to keep their positions in the world economic competitive situations. And in terms of local and national maybe and the global perspective, from the island of Shikoku, I think the roles of small and small and medium-sized companies are very critical because, for example, Shikoku has no large cities with population over 1 million, unlike Tokyo, Osaka, Fukuoka, Sapporo metropolitan regions. But there are a number of small, medium-sized companies which are called global niche companies, which have the world-class expertise and technology to keep their positions in the leading positions in the world. For example, there is a company called Nippura, which is capable of making large-scale water tanks, headquartered in this Kagawa prefecture where I live. And the company is proud of sharing a large percent of world market in making large water tanks, which are used in aquarium and water-related leisure parks and other the same kind of facilities. So if you have a world-class expertise and technology, it is possible to keep their position, even in have the headquarters in local cities. Actually, the name of town where the company Nippura located is Miki. Probably nobody knows, but the company has a resiliency to keep the company afloat in the competitive world. But at the same time, we are seeing a rapid shrink of population, even all over Japan. Currently, probably only Tokyo metropolitan area is seeing increasing population. And even Osaka, the second largest city of Japan, is losing its population. So coping with aging population is a very big challenge for Japanese society. And but at the same time, the central government is reluctant to introduce immigrants from foreign countries. So then, how to keep with the working populations, which is very vital to keep economy running. Probably another challenge is to keep a clean environment in terms of sustainability of the nation and the world. And well, recently, the central Japanese government has decided to urge retailers to stop using plastic bags because plastic is a very critical source for deteriorating living environment. And in this section, also small and medium-sized companies have roles to contribute to make naturally or how to say naturally friendly plastic bags to the market. So we have yeah, we have a range of challenges to come in the near future. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Tiara, for insight of the kind of changes that are happening in Japan and the kind of industry moving from light to heavy industry technology. And that is what we will pick it up later also. But then we have our next speaker. He is Dr. V.S. Negi from Delhi University. He is very dynamic in approach in understanding geography, and he's a very widely traveled geographer, and especially to the Himalayas and then to different parts of India. He has worked in various projects and how locally the issues can be taken up and how we can relate them to the international issues being discussed and talked about today to achieve the sustainability. So let's try to listen to Dr. Negi on the issues related from local to local and local to global, and how the voices, and he's also one thing I just forgot to mention, that he's a activist in Delhi University. He has a habit of raising very good voices in the system of raising very valid issues related to teachers and the teaching community. Therefore, his wide experience of traveling plus working with the local community with his kind of initiatives at the university level, I hope he has been raising all at different level and different platforms. So I welcome Professor Dr. Negi to put an insight to the topic for discussion today. Over to Dr. Negi.
Thank you, Professor Kaushal Kumar Sharma. And I would also like to thank...
Please put on your video. We can't see you. Yes, now it's okay. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Kaushal Kumar Sharma, Professor Sudesh Nangia, Professor Tony, Professor Atushi Tiara. I am really happy to be part of this Commission on Local and Regional Development, which is conducted under the International Geographical Union India International Conference 2020 and Global to Local Sustainability and Future Earth. And I would like to mention here that we are here to discuss and develop and provide a blueprint for the future of the earth, future of people, future of our discipline geography, and recommending how to strengthen its intellectual and institutional foundation and meet the demand for geographic expertise among professionals and the public. Friends, as we all are aware that political, economic, environmental issues around the world are increasingly covering up the discussion and mainstream of the academic world. In this important time, it is time to redesign, rediscover the basic theme of geography and what it is suggested here in this commission, that let's talk about global to local. And as all the previous speakers have suggested, that global and too many different locals, they make themselves combine together a global issue. And as we know that global is the mark of mark of geography, but at the same time, we need to understand the local in a described framework. Local understanding is must to reach about a consensus for the various kind of problems, various kind of difficulties to cover up in this globe. And as we know that very often geography in its traditional form is related to the problems originating from place to place and time to time. But so far as we all are concerned in terms of geography as a subject, as a discipline, we have so far came across a long way that we are a solution giving discipline. We are opening up various ways how to face, how to resolve the local problems. For that, we need to understand locals in a very better manner, better than the previous methodologies you used to adopt, we used to go by. And these year 2020, year 2020, with a corona pandemic all around the world, it gave us time to rethink how to deal with the problems of globe, problems of geography around us, and then towards the well-being of the society in every manner, possible manner. And we know that geographers, using our geographic knowledge and perspective, are engaged in valuable research and teaching on matter ranging from environmental change to social, economic, and so many other ethnic problems. But in this time, when we call sometime it modern times, we call it postmodernism, sometimes we call it new world, and we, whatever connotation we give to these problems and problem resolving disciplinary actions, we must not forget that word local is the key to resolve each problem. And I would like to share many of my experiences at local levels where, that I have gathered during my long associations with my fellow friends, geographers like Professor Kaushal in Himalayas. We have been engaged in the development of local forks in Himalayas for about last 3 decades. And we are not only documenting the change that is reflecting amongst them in last 30 years, but also we have tried to bring out some design to develop these local forks. And for that, we need to understand these basic problems, basic system analysis of the local setups, local people's demand, local people's local technology, all these things which are generally the institutions are ignorant about. So my perception is that locals needs to be studied in a wide manner, and their understanding will bring solutions to the problems the world is facing today. Today, when we go for the popular topics in research, most of the geographers are engaged in last 30 years concentrating their research on global warming, climate change like issues. But we forget, we discourage the research on biodiversity, we discourage the research on agriculture productivity, we somehow forget the research of geography of peace. Everywhere world is facing conflicts, crime, war, like these things. But we somehow, in a fashionable manner or knowingly and unknowingly, we are preferring to work on popular topics, and in that way, local is ignorant. So it is the demand of the time in this 21st century, especially in the year 2021. There is a need to change the gear and taste of the geographical research, geographical topics, geographical problems, which are concentrated on a local levels that needs to be studied in a detailed manner. And we should also encourage the young geographers, young researchers to work on local issues so that so many locals together give solutions to the global problems. So this is my submission. I thank you again, the organizers, Dr. Bharsa, and IGU General Secretary Professor R.B. Singh for giving me a chance to put my views on these issues. Thank you, Professor Kaushal Sharma ji.
Thank you, Dr. Negi, for giving us the understanding of your thought process in understanding the local and global issues. Now, what I have to do is that before I ask Professor Nagia to come in, I have a couple of points to make. Now, my understanding goes is that we have two friends from one Australia and one from Japan. They're very highly developed nations. They look at the global and they look at the local issues from their point of view. And three of us are from India, where India is still grappling with the diversified issues, local and international level. And we are still in a process of developing. Therefore, how I understand this particular issue globally. First point is that third world nations have a huge resource base as on today with them. But their market systems are very small. And therefore, whatever the assets financially they create, GDP, is becoming very low. And the population is very high. So third world nation is grappling with the kind of the situation related to that they have huge resources, but they lack technology. They lack finances, the resources. But their market system is also not very, very mature and still in the process of evolving. Therefore, they're finding a problem of that how their GDP should increase over a period of time, which is a hard hitting for them because the population at the same time is very high. On the other side, when you look at the first world, they have squeezed in most of their natural resources or used their most natural resources. Their market system becomes more mature, more wide open, have the capacity to adjust the stresses, whereby their GDP has increased huge. Now, at one point of time, the third world nations do not have huge financial resources for development. On the other side, the first world is developed, but they have huge finances with them. So what to do? The process has been that let's try to exchange. The first world said it that yes, let's try to put in finances for development in the third world, and we will try to use your resources and take that or the outcome of those resources financially back to their own nation. So this is how the system has evolved, and that is the major concern for us globally. Now, the next question that arises to me out of the natural resource base for local or to the backward communities, when I look at the market system, what they have with them at a grassroots level, then when I look at, say, the income level at the local level for the local communities, then we have a concern, at least in the third world nations, which I have been experiencing or studying or working with the local community. We have another concern how to go about doing it, to understand that. I hope the globe has, or international agencies have their own role to play. Then I recollect that what happened was that they brought in a concept of the UN Global Compact with 4 approaches of human development to eradicate the corruption, to bring sustainability, was thought under the process of UN Global Compact. It had a meaning, but meanwhile, the Millennium Development Goals came up and aid were kept in major thrust area for development, and the policy was given to the world just according to their own models of development. And what has happened was that they were asked, or the nations were asked to ratify those models according to their own needs and aspirations, which they have done it. But by 2015, the world was not able to achieve any kind of sustainability by the Millennium Development Goal, and we started a big project in Himalayas to understand how the Millennium Development Goals can be taken up locally. And the project is still going on in Himalayas, where we have been able to prove, yes, these Millennium Development Goals, if they might have been put into practice or implemented properly, would have really brought in a lot of change in the local communities. By the time the things were moving on, the world thought of a greater idea. Let's have 17 sustainable development goals with many, 165 or 168. It became a huge body, and huge number of the goals have been assigned. 17 sustainable development goals by 2050. In between, India also developed a mission to develop its own nation with local communities by 2020. But it was not possible at all because we do not have a long vision to see that what our nation with 130 crore people will be able to. So this is one set of idea which comes to my mind. I hope it is really very fascinating for me to see that how local communities are being understood by the international communities, how we are in a nation, our own political system understand the local communities, and how local communities are understanding them. Then I hope the government of India has given a very wise thought that let's try to empower the local communities by Panchayat Raj institutions, giving them all political and financial freedom to develop their own local resources and making people to participate in the local level development. That was a wonderful model. I hope it is still working on. We have been able to empower the panchayats, that the local bodies. We have been given a lot of freedom for them to use the local resources. We have given them to mobilize the manpower, and they are doing a tremendous or bringing in tremendous change at the grassroots level. That is what one major first area of micro level development that India has taken up. and they are all elected bodies. The elections are held, and proper mechanism of the whole system is in operation. So therefore, this is one of the can cause a change in the life of people and at a grassroots level. And at the same time, the rest of the hierarchy, everyone knows that how democratically the country like India works on. But then, when you look at, say, this issue which was given to us to speak, then I have to see how globally the local issues are being taken up. At a global level, I hope the policies and planning and the treaties, they are being carved out at an international level. The policy the framework are being devised for. And that policy is not for only one nation, but all those policies and frameworks and conventions and treaties are for the rest of the whole world to follow one approach to solve the issues globally or the issues at a local level. So this is one major, or say, the policy tool that has been given by international community for all nations in a very right manner. Then how the global bodies are understanding these local issues or how they want to come down from international level to local level. Now that is how the global poverty needs appropriate policies at a local level. Let me make you assured, by 1971, when the first Bucharest conference was held in Romania, then our late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi raised the issue of poverty and environment. And she said it that if we are not able to eradicate poverty, we are surely going to damage the environment. Therefore, the first world should come forward to provide finances and help up the third world nation and help them to eradicate the poverty. And that is how probably at that point the world body came together and a huge amount of funds were diverted to the development of the poor. And thereafter those costs went on to poverty, malnutrition and hunger remains at the same time in stations. Therefore, the food is processed to the poor people. And local communities are being advised to improve this kind of situation, that how poverty can be taken up at a local or an international level to be tackled with. Then another issue which comes to my mind is that there is an uncertainty and need for control on the local level. Now there is a mechanism where the international bodies and the national bodies, all funds are flowing through various channels to the third world nations. But how these funds are being used is another question for those nations to use those funds, and local bodies are not able to use those funds too. Let me quote an example to you all is that when you look at, say, Bhutan, it's a very small nation with more than very few and more than 130 international organizations are working and finances are being poured. Bhutan has the highest happiness. This shows that they have been able to use those finances more wisely. Therefore, comes to my mind for local communities from a global scale to come down is the environment. Now, if when you look at, say, the cumulative impact of the environment has generated local environmental issues need to be solved at a local level. Then we will be able to solve the global environmental crisis. And the third thing that comes to mind, or fourth that comes to mind at a global level, which are thinking in terms of it, which is a huge energy crisis. And the energy is one of the major indicators for and the problem of energy crisis. And therefore, we have an alternative solution for the energy sustainability for the community to survive. And the fifth point, which is of my concern here, is if the food crisis, there is solved So this is one concern, that local people are avoiding to eat the local food, and therefore they are using those foods which are not good agriculturally or climatically. So you have five major issues at a global level. We need to think for the local communities. One, poverty eradication, uncertainty in the finances, the environment crisis to be solved at a grassroots level, and the energy crisis also need to be taken care of at a national level, and the food crisis need to be solved at a grassroots level by for the local communities to be solved for. Now, at the same time, when you look at, say, the local communities, what they look at the global scale, again, they need to polarize the whole process of their natural resources and the welfare to improve the natural payment balances at a local level for economic development. The second issue is the international experiences point out the importance of decentralization of power. I gave an example that how the Panchayat Raj institutions or local governance in India had changed the attitude and behavior of the local communities for development. And it is being understood that yes, there is to be a stability of jobs at a grassroots level, which pandemic has taught us. And majority of the people are migrated to their finding an alternative sustainable for them to find a job, or maybe finding a situation to come up with or to deal with this pandemic today. And the fifth point in this is that how national development is always locally determined. Now, please, what I understand is that whatever the national development should have the local aspirations, needs, requirements needs to be done. So this is how I look at all these issues in terms of how globally we are looking at, how internationally the concerns are. There are major areas which global bodies need to understand them. Local people understand local issues. Therefore, we always focus on them, and we are taking up many projects on rural development locally in Himalayas, in the tribal areas, in the coastal belt. I hope we are trying to make people aware locally and to show them, yes, you have more to contribute at a national level. Otherwise, the cumulative impact of the deteriorating condition of the local community. Now, why I say is that in India, we have more than 6,25,000 villages. I hope more than 80% people live in the villages. It's a big finances, employment in the rural areas. So we need to manage them. So that's our concern. Our urban development is very low, but it is fastly growing. And the urban areas are not able to adapt and adjust the growing population. Then locally, even at the urban level. So it comes some of that we are majorly working on to see that how sustainability out of these minor changes need to be brought in to this concern for. I hope I should not take more time. We have been allotted, say, 1 hour, 30 minutes. I have already taken nearly 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes, 19 minutes. I invite to Professor Sudesh Nagia to wind up this session in another, say, 10, 15 minutes. And we can have more questions within the group to see that, yes, whether we are going in the right direction. The second point is whether we will be able to contribute to this conference and how this conference can take up our issues and points so that we can sum up and give it to the appropriate body. I hope we can sum up like this and we can work on one new. I hope the General Secretary and the coordinator, Women can also work on this. So I hand over the mic to Sudesh Nagia for comments and then to start the session for further discussion on if we have some few points to work on. Thank you, Professor Nagia, for this.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. I just wanted to find out, can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to find out, are we going to expect some responses from the audience before we wind up?
That I don't know. The coordinator is not here. The Bhavar is not here. I hope. Are you in, Bhavar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So he's there. I don't know how he's going to open up the house for discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or this is the discussion
Yes.
between the 5 people.
Yes, sir. Sir, we haven't received any questions right now in chat box.
Okay, then Professor Nagia, you can carry on.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sharma, for your illustrious discussion. But let me tell you, half of what you said was not audible to me. I don't know about my other colleagues because somehow the other the voice broke in between. But a few points which we heard, they were very relevant. Now, let me try to summarize what I have learned from our colleagues. We are really grateful to our colleagues from Australia and Japan, Professor Tony and Professor Sushi, um, for bringing out these situations in their own country. As you rightly said, see, we have two contrasting nations. Australia is a huge country with a small population, and Japan is a small country, small population, but at the same time, highly densely populated. And both the countries have made tremendous progress in their economy and in their society. But both the countries had been for a very long time, to some extent, closed economies. Pardon me, so if I use this word, basically from if we look at from the point of view of migration and from the point of view of settlement of the people coming from the developing countries. Of course, in case of Australia, they have recently opened up, but still there is a lot more scope in countries like Australia to accommodate more people coming from the developing countries, which can help in boosting their economy. We, of course, in case of Japan, I must say that language becomes also one of the barriers for many of the people coming from developing countries. And Japanese is not a very easy language to learn in a short course of time. So there are some constraints. But these are two examples before us, and then simultaneously they are also heading towards certain problematic issues. As in Japan, as we have come to know that aging of the population is one big issue, and that also means shortage of people in the productive age group and in the effective labor force. So that brings, of course, Japan is a highly technologically advanced country, so they are taking care of many of the issues which they could have otherwise faced. In case of Australia, of course, we have, uh, as you said, this is a country which can accommodate migrants easily. And with high technology, they can also train this manpower to suit their conditions. Now, coming to the other two, especially the studies by Professor Negi and Professor Kaushal Sharma, I find that we are typically trying to come out of our economic syndromes or political syndromes, which are currently in vogue in our country. We are moving from, say, one stage to another. We are trying to open up. We are trying to bring up our local people, trying to generate, sensitize our local population, trying to bring them to the mainstream. But in the process of bringing them to the mainstream, we are encountering several problems. There are political interests, there are regional interests involved in them. As a result, See, we go one step forward, we come back 2 steps backward. And this to and fro takes a lot of our energy, resources, whereby we are still not able to come up to the extent to which we would have made progress by this time. We do have, before us, the development which has taken place in the countries like Japan, Australia, USA, Canada, or even Great Britain. But we have our own compulsions whereby we are not able to lift up our local resources, local population so far. So whenever we are trying to move from global to local, you see, we are touching only the surface. It's just like the improvement that we have. This is like the tip of the iceberg. So we have to go down to the local population to bring them up. Of course, we have tried several methods. We have gone in for decentralization. We have gone in for the basic problems that we had with our education system, or we are trying to improve the literacy in our country. Can you believe that at the time of independence, we had less than 10% of our population as literate? And today we have more than 70% of our population, which is considered as literate. So to bring them from illiteracy to literacy has also taken us a lot of time. But still, we are proud of the fact that we have a very high percentage of population which are skilled, which are highly skilled, and which are contributing a lot to the economy of the world, global economy rather. These are the people who are IT professionals and others, those who have gone abroad, they have gone to other countries, and they are making substantial contribution to the scientific innovations which are going on in that world. So what we are now working at is that looking at Professor Sharma's opinion, I think the MDGs, the minimum development goals, they were more rigid. The moment we look at sustainable development goals, we find that they are more flexible because they are goals, they are targets, and they're indicators. Governments have been given the choice to fix up their own targets. Yes, please.
One small interruption.
Yes, please.
The organizers are going to start the next session by another 3-4 minutes. We need to wind up quick.
Sure, in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So what we say is that the SDGs are more flexible in the sense that targets are flexible. So every country, as per its own standards, can lay down the targets. We need not achieve the targets which might have been, which were fixed up in the minimum development goals. That is that is one of the main contributions of the SDGs. With all this, I think I'll end up here, and I thank all our participants, including Professor Kaushal Sharma to start with, and Professor Sushi.
Dr. Bhumar,
yes, sir.
on our side, we still have 2 minutes to say thanks to everyone.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Especially our international guest,
Yes,
Foreign Sen, and
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Atushi.
Definitely.
Thank you very much for joining, and I hope we all are together. Otherwise, from India, we know each other very well. See you all. And I was talking to Professor Tony Sorensen. Your surname seems to be more Indian than Australian, and it is really very nice. So even thank you very much again, Bhumar, for inviting us on this platform, and whatever we could share, I hope we were able to communicate ourselves that how things can happen from local to global and global to local. And the voices need to be raised and voices need to be heard. That is the standard kind of a democratic processes we should follow. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Respected sir. Respected sir. Professor Nagia ma'am, Professor Kaushal sir, Professor Dr. V.S. Negi sir, and Professor Tony sir, Professor Tyra sir. This is a wonderful discussion for all of us. It is a great honor and privilege to hearing a lot of important discussions from your side. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Boomer, and thank you everyone once again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Professor Tony.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you for everyone.
Thank
Great.
It was really a nice interaction and nice opportunity to
Yes.
interact with you all.